Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakachodash. Double honors unto the elders and apostles of great most that rule well, and shalom unto the 144,000 elect men of the nation of Israel and the rest of the elect that are destined to be saved. I'm the brother Kalab, and I'm from the GMS UK London Forecasters Camp, coming back at you with another lesson to help edify those of which I spoke of. So we've got some news taking place over here in the UK that there have been some riots in Belfast, which allegedly were caused by a man being stabbed in the street. What's taken place is that over the past, coming up to 48 hours now, people have been kicking off in Belfast and attacking immigrants and setting their homes on fire to drive them out of their homes. And this has been going on, as I said, for nearly 2 days now. And it's basically a lot of these racist Edomites. They're basically taking matters into their own hands. And personally, I think a lot of this stuff is being staged, because they say they've got men covered in black masks going through cities, targeting hotels and people's places of residence to drive them out of their homes. And what do they call it? You have agent provocateurs. That's it. You can have agent provocateurs who will go into certain situations and stir up or incite people into behaving a certain way. But at the end of the day, it's all fulfilling the plan of the elites. What's one of their sayings? They never let a good crisis go to waste. So let me play some of this article on BBC News, and I've got another one lined up. But basically, this is really fulfilling scriptures, because we knew that race riots were inevitable according to the scriptures. 2 Genesis 15, let me see. I think it's 2 Genesis the 15th chapter. Actually, yeah, well, this is even, I didn't even intended to get this, but the scriptures just open in Matthew 24. And this even talks about it. Matthew 24 and verse 6. The signs of the coming of our Lord and the times of the end is verse 6. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled. For all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginnings of sorrows. So nation shall rise against nation. So basically, you're going to have race wars. You know, people going back to their own people, you know, and being at odds with other peoples. That's part of the scriptures. Even in, let me get a 2 Genesis 15 chapter, I think it is. 2 Genesis 15 or 16, I think 2 Genesis 15. There we go. 2 Ezra 15 verse 14. Woe to the world and to them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. One people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. So these are the things that we're seeing take place right in front of our eyes, and this is all according to biblical prophecy. So let me play this news article, and I've got another one lined up after.
12 police officers in Northern Ireland have been left injured after a second night of violence in Belfast, sparked by a violent stabbing in the city on Monday. Riot police used water cannon after coming under sustained attack from a group throwing bricks, bottles and pieces of wood at a major roundabout to the northwest of the city. Men dressed in black, wearing face coverings, had been trying to reach a hotel used by asylum seekers. Police say 16 people have been arrested. Well, the Northern Ireland Secretary Hilary Benn's been speaking to the BBC. He says ethnic minorities have been left terrified by the riots, with people being burnt out of their homes because of the colour of their skin. The family of the victim in the knife attacks...
Hear that? People being burnt out of their homes because of the colour of their skin. Now, what does this remind you of? I can tell you what it reminds me of. It reminds me of the days before the civil rights thing, where the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan, used to roll up on Jake's. Let's say Jake has got his little house and his little family, and the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan, would just ride up and set a torch, put a cross on their lawn, and set it on fire and torch their homes, and drive Jake out of their homes. So there's no new thing under the sun. You know, let me get that. Hang on, precept. No new thing under the sun. Is it Ecclesiastes 3? No, it's Ecclesiastes 1. The thing that hath been, there it is, Ecclesiastes 1 and verse 9. The thing that hath been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. So yeah, Esau, not too long ago, used to roll up on Jake in hoods and those long robes and shit, and set their homes on fire and burn a cross in their front lawn and drive Jake out of their homes. Well, Esau's still got that same wicked spirit in him. Let's get that one. There we go. Habakkuk 2 and verse 4. Behold, his soul, which is lifted up, is not upright in him, but the just shall walk by faith. Let me read from Habakkuk 2 and verse 1. I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And the Lord answered me and said, Write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. Speaking of Esau, it says, Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him, but the just shall live by his faith. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as deaf and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. So yeah, Esau is basically that man whose spirit is not upright in him. You know, but as the scriptures say, the just shall live by their faith. So we've been put under the, I can use the word yoke, of this wicked man who's doing nothing but afflict us in every possible way, just inconveniencing us and making our lives difficult. Well, guess what? We're not going to have to suffer this man for much longer, because he's going to be taken out of power when our Lord and Savior Yahuwah Shai returns. So, you know, this is Esau's last hurrah. Let me play that clip again.
Of their skin, the family of the victim in the knife attacks appealed for calm. Well, our first report this hour comes from our correspondent in Belfast, Dan Johnson.
Northern Ireland witnessed disorder on the streets for a second night running. This was Glengormley, to the north of Belfast. Lines of riot police battled for hours to hold back a crowd which was trying to reach a hotel housing refugees, just one of a number of addresses on a so-called hit list circulated online of target locations linked to immigrants.
here. We've seen this crowd throwing bricks and rocks at the lines of police officers. There have been some bottles and stones that have come over, so that's why this line of police officers has been advancing towards the crowd, trying to drive them back. There are more officers coming in just at the moment, more reinforcements arriving. They've managed to push this crowd around this road and back into that community.
This is what was feared, what people were urged.
You see, this all sounds very suspect to me, because they're saying, oh, there was a hit list circulated online of targets for people to hit. Well, guess what? This is just going to bring in more. ESOL's already trying to tighten up people's freedom of speech on the internet and stuff like that. So this can tie even more into agendas such as, oh, we need to track everybody's online activity. So everybody needs to, use the ID verification shit. And secondly, it also allows ESOL to bring in, ideas that people need to be chipped in terms of the MOTB, so that they can track what everybody's doing, where they're going, and all this kind of stuff in order to safeguard against situations like this occurring. This really does sound like a setup on ESOL's part for him to, make more draconian laws. Let's see what more it says.
To avoid. It was localised, not on the same level as the previous evening, not with the same immediate impact, but still a huge challenge for the police and a threat to peace in these communities.
The fear had been all day that this would happen again, that it may escalate further. There is still a chance of that, but there are definitely more officers on the streets tonight. They appear to be more heavily armed and ready to deal with this, and the message seems to be that they're not going to tolerate the sort of disruption and disorder that played out last night, causing so much damage to people's homes.
The appeal for calm again came from the family of the victim of the knife attack which sparked this off. They said, "We have witnessed a lot of false information circulating on social media, which is now forcing us to clarify that our loved one is in fact in a stable condition. We have been left feeling disgusted by the scenes that unfolded across Northern Ireland in the wake of what happened. We have many migrants who make a deeply valuable contribution to our country," they said. The vast majority of political leaders have condemned the violence, while some have sought to explain what is driving this unrest, referring back to the awful knife attack here on Monday evening.
I'm not going to speak for those who are engaged in violence, but there are those who do want to express.
Now, this sounds crazy. This sounds crazy because I believe, was it last year, there was an alleged knife attack at some dance class for some little girls. And it was the same thing, where this immigrant stabbed up these little girls and killed them, and then people started kicking off and rioting. Well, this is the same narrative that's been spun again. ESOL's double dipping at the well of this, trying to push this story and this narrative again, so they can come down with more draconian measures to control people, what they're saying, what they're doing online. All this type of shit. It all sounds like a setup to me. Let's see what more it says.
Their concerns around immigration. And what we had on Monday night horrified people. It was a medieval savage attack that took place. And the information that the police have provided to us was by an individual now arrested.
It wasn't widespread, but again, a few hundred demonstrators were able to stand up to the police and damage property. There is a short-term question about how much more destruction we'll see, and a longer-term issue of the concern these rioters profess to hold about immigration, its impact on crime and communities. Politicians are saying they'll engage in that debate, but not under the threat of continued violence. Dan Johnson, BBC News, Belfast.
Well, the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland, Hilary Benn's been speaking to the BBC. He's condemned the violence as racist thuggery. He's been speaking to my colleague Justin Webb on the Today programme.
Yeah, this is described in this morning's Times, the headline, a modern-day pogrom. Is that a fair description, do you think, of the last 2 days?
Well, I think the two conversations you've just had really do convey
the sense of terror and fear felt by the ethnic minority people living in Northern Ireland as they've witnessed, particularly the scenes on Tuesday night of people being burned and intimidated out of their homes because of the colour of their skin. And I really want to echo what the councillor you were just speaking to said, that this is not the true face of Northern Ireland. This is a wonderful, welcoming place, and the eyes of the world are upon us. And that's why there is a very great responsibility on everyone who has any influence over those who are doing this to get them to stop, because there is no justification whatsoever.
And you are clear, are you, in your mind, from the government's perspective, these are racist attacks?
Well, if you're burning someone out of their home, saying foreigners out, what other word would you use to describe what has been going on?
That's Hilary Benn there. Well, he was on the Today programme on BBC Radio 4, as was the Met Police Commissioner, Sir Mark Rowley, who highlighted the challenges social media is presenting for policing social disorder.
See this?
We saw, didn't we, a couple of summers ago on the back of the awful incident in Southport, how commentary online drove some of that disorder that summer. And one of the points I would make is that's not simply about free speech within the UK. That's also malign actors overseas. We saw bot farms influencing this as well. So this is quite a difficult issue where other countries want to sow disorder on the streets of the UK. So it's really complex. So we pay a lot of attention to that. We've got established ways with government and other agencies to sort of monitor that. And of course, we're ready for any disorder, but it is challenging. I mean, seeing the apparent targeting of homes of ethnic minorities in Northern Ireland with some of that arson, etc. That looks ghastly.
That's Sir Mark Rowley there. Well, we'll be live in Belfast in a moment, but first let's speak to Joanne Devlin True, a lecturer in the School of Criminology, Politics and Social Policy at Ulster University, who also joins me from Belfast. Good to talk to you. Thank you for joining us. There's a lot of questions to go through. One of the first things I wanted to ask you is, who do you understand are the people behind these riots, these masked men? Is there any sense that we know who they are?
There's been some reporting on BBC Ulster, that's BBC Northern Ireland, this morning about that. I wouldn't really want to speculate on that because I think the jury is out. The police are doing the investigation. We know that several people, again, last night were arrested. There were quite a few people arrested the first night. But what we do know about the profile of those that are kind of going around and in some cases actually knocking on doors and asking people to leave their house, or demanding that people leave their houses, are male, masked, and probably relatively young on the, for the most part. And that, of course, brings other concerns with that. For young people who become involved in fall afoul of the criminal justice system, this has lifelong implications for their futures.
And
Yeah, it sounds like Asian provocateurs. And he's probably got some people, the ringleaders, who are set out to cause this sort of civil unrest. And then obviously you're going to have some people who get involved with it afterwards. But I think at the core of it, Esau set this whole thing up, man. Because this is Esau's modus operandi, isn't it? He usually does this shit in other nations where he will sow discord and unrest and then come in and be like, oh, well, we need to do this and we need to do that in order to destabilize these countries and take them over. How is this any different? When Esau wants to bring about widespread change in the UK, the most widespread change is going to be getting everybody chipped. Do you not think Esau would do something like this? Of course he would. And again, this has his fingerprints all over it, because even that woman mentioned how this is similar to the thing that happened in Southgate with those little girls that get stabbed up in a dance class, and then everybody started trying to target immigrants as a result of it. Let's play some more of this.
can you tell us more about the areas that we have seen some of these violent demonstrations erupt, and what that tells you about perhaps the politics of Belfast?
Well, I suppose the areas are predominantly what one would have kind of assumed were mostly working class areas, or historically would have been working class areas. But I'm not sure what that can say about the actual, who the perpetrators are, what the flavour is about of all of this. Some of this, of course, has been generated, and we know because the posts are in social media have been stoked from outside Northern Ireland as well. So there's essentially, one would have to say, a far right element in this, but it's not only a local far right. In fact, it is very much an international far right.
Can you tell us more about that then? What do you mean by that? So outside groups organising for people to come in, is that your feeling?
Well, we've had these same activities even in recent weeks, protests in England and so on, by far right groups, led by specific actors who I won't name, but we all know who we're talking about. But there's also international actors who, the Hope Not Hate organization, for example, documents every year in their annual report quite specifically these groups and any links for these groups, even in places like Northern Ireland specifically. So there is a network of worldwide of far right activism that borders on, for which really anti-migrant and anti-Islam are probably the two primary underpinning rationales, if you will.
Okay, Dr. Johann Devlin-True, thank you very much.
Speaking about Tommy Robinson, because he was recently holding a march in central London a couple of weeks back, talking about, we need to get the Islam out of the UK and all this kind of crap. And he's basically just, he's a puppet that's set up anyway. But he's basically appealing to a lot of these, Edomites who will be like, how you doing? Yeah, nice to see you, mate, on the job. But really, when they're around their own people and you're not around, they're like, this fucking niggas can't stand him, man. Or he's fucking packies, innit? You need to get him out of the country, innit? You need to take back Britain. And this was, this Tommy Robinson guy, he's a fucking Asian anyway. But even at Christmas, they had some fucking demonstration. I think it was in, was it outside Houses of Parliament, Parliament Square or whatever. And yeah, it was the same thing. They were saying, we need to put Jesus back into Christmas. We need to take back Christmas, innit? And he says, we're having a march to put Christ back in Christmas. And when people turned up to the march and people were interviewing them saying, why are you there? If they was there for, birth of baby Jesus, as they call it, for Christmas, none of them were there for that. All they would do is, we're supporting Tommy, innit? And we need to take back our country, innit? And in the interviews, they're saying, what do you mean take back the country? We need to get Islam out of the country, innit? We need to get the immigrants out of the country, innit? These fucking slack-jawed, low IQ Edomites, basically just there to profess their hatred, because that's all they really want to do. But they're too chicken shit to do it individually. That's why they need to get themselves in larger numbers, where they feel more confident to actually express how they feel about you. And this isn't just about Esau hating Jake. Esau hates every nation under the sun. If you're so-called Elamite, it's got terms for you. What do they say? We're gonna go packy bashing, they used to call it, where the Edomites would get together, get a little bit drunk, jump in a car, drive the streets, just looking for anybody who might be an East Indian or whatever, and then they jump out the car and they beat their head in, and then they drive off. They call that packy bashing back in the day. And they do the same thing to you Jakes as well. You might be walking down the street, let's say you're a child, you just gone to play football with your friends at the local park, which might be a 10-minute walk away. You leave the park and you're walking home, you got these Edomites driving past in the car, screaming out, you fucking nigga, get out of the country and shit. And you might just be like an 8-year-old or 10-year-old child just wanting to go to the park to play a game with your friends, but you got to experience the terror of having these threats and attacks hurled against you. Now, this is the interesting thing, because in this country, they're making a big deal out of, oh, we got to protect the small hats and we have to open our minds and our hearts to small hat fear. Yeah, well, what about Jake fear? Where was the police when Jake had to suffer that stuff in their childhood? Or even worse, you know, you walking down the road with your friends, see 4 Edomites walking towards you, and it's like, oh shit. And then they start chasing you, got to run for your life, otherwise they're going to beat you black and blue. Where was the outcry for we need to open our hearts and our minds to Israelite suffering? You know, there's never that. There's never any sympathy for Jake, never any empathy. It was like, okay, you got to get on with it. While you have to live in fear and terror, while Esau lives carefree. You know, it's fucking ridiculous. But guess what? This is all coming to an end, and everything that Esau's done to us, all the fear and all the terror we've had to experience, because this isn't just about what Jake did to us physically. The psychological terror that Esau has inflicted upon our people can't be underestimated. Therefore, in the kingdom, when we get our revenge, when these Edomites are put into slavery and the roles are reversed, they're going to experience the ultimate psychological terror 2 times worse than anything we ever had. So let's play the rest of this article.
Much for sharing your thoughts there.
Thank you.
Well, let's speak to our correspondent, Louise Cullen, who is on the ground for us in Belfast. Louise, just tell us what people are saying to you this morning. Another night of horrendous violence.
Yes, absolutely. People in this area, it's been quite quiet this morning with the bad weather and so on, but people have been out walking dogs, jogging. People have described it as senseless. They've described it as disgusting. But the clean-up operation behind me there, you can see all the debris from the road has now been cleared away, apart from the pieces that have melted into the tarmac when bins were set on fire. But public transport is back to normal. Traffic is coming and going and flowing very well along here now. But people have now endured 2 nights of this, albeit last night not on the scale of Tuesday night. They will be worried and are worried that will this be a 3rd night? We simply don't know at this stage, but they'll be watching very carefully to see what happens in the course of today and later on this evening.
Louise, you know the city well. I wonder if you could just tell us a bit more about the areas where we've seen most of the rioting.
Well, we've seen that in various places. This obviously is the outskirts of Belfast, Glengormley. This is a relatively mixed area, to be honest. But then in Belfast, where we saw it in East Belfast, that would be a loyalist area, certainly very strongly unionist. And what we have seen in recent years is in some of those areas that perhaps migrants have been housed there or have moved into the area. People in those areas say they're seeing what they describe as a culture change. For the rest of Belfast, of Northern Ireland, we know that Northern Ireland doesn't have as much immigration really as other parts of the UK. The census suggests that Northern Ireland is around 97% white. So we know that the issues that are being raised and that are preying on people's minds, they're similar to what is going on elsewhere in the UK. But we are not as exposed to immigration here as other parts of the UK have been in the past.
Indeed, and how much has race hate crime risen in recent years? I was talking to someone yesterday who said that the stats show that it's actually been going up, despite, of course, as you say, it's not as diverse as other parts of the UK.
Yes, that is something that police figures would show, that race-related crime has increased. But then, of course, there have been arrests as a result of this violence, which is not necessarily that same thing. So we've had that appeal from the police this morning looking for identification of 2 individuals, with doubtless more images to come from up exposure. But as you say, yes, risk-related crime has increased in Northern Ireland. The figures show that. But then again, as I say, that immigration level in Northern Ireland is lower than it is elsewhere in the UK.
And just very briefly, is the sense that there's going to be more violence, more riots overnight tonight? What is the mood on the ground?
There's no doubt there's a heightened sense of awareness that it is a possibility. There is perhaps an anxiety that it is a possibility. People will be watching very carefully to see what happens in the course of today. It's very poor weather today, different to the last couple of days. That may play a role as well. People will be watching social media. They'll be listening to the news. They'll be heeding what comes from the police and from the politicians in the course of today. Will people be leaving work early? Time will tell. Will schools close? We simply just don't know yet. But everybody is on a sense of certainly, if not high alert, then certainly heightened alert.
OK, thank you so much, Louise Cullen there. I should just say that we do have a live page on the BBC News website which has some really useful and important updates. I'm reading one here. The trade union Unison says it's been helping terrified health workers from overseas they're receiving reports that some are being followed to and from work. The regional secretary of Unison's told our colleagues at Good Morning Ulster that when that horrific incident happened in North Belfast on Monday, of course, that attack which left someone without the sight in one eye, they saw a call to arms on social media and they said, we knew immediately that our members from overseas were going to be under threat. She says yesterday evening a nurse with a different skin colour was chased into the Ulster hospital by 4 masked men. There's more accounts of the violence and the riots last night on the BBC News website, as we say there.
See, now this is the interesting thing because Esau always wants to call Jake animals. But when do you hear Jake chasing Edomites into their workplace, four deep? 4 Jakes chasing 1 Edomite into their workplace and following them around and terrorizing them. See, this is the thing. This is really terrorizing people. And, these Edomites deserve to have the T word placed upon themselves. Because that's what they're doing. They're just terrorizing people, man. But yeah, this is all coming to an end. And these are all signs of the end. Because as I read in Matthew 24... nation shall rise against nation. So this is what we're seeing, beginnings of these race wars, man. And we've spoken about these things many times before because we brought these precepts out. Now we're seeing it come to pass. At the end of the day, whether Esau's Asian provocateur or not, everything's going to play out according to the word of Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai. So yeah, Lord willing, that's not interesting. Lord willing, that was edifying. I'm gonna keep my eye on this situation because it's an ongoing thing. See where it goes. But for now, yeah, I want to once again give all praises, honor, and glory be unto Yahweh, B'Hashem Yahweh Shai, B'Hashem, Wachach double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that rule well, and Shalom unto the 144,000 elect men in the nation of Israel, and the rest of the elect that are destined to be saved. And I will catch you on the next lesson, Lord willing. Shalom for now.